Mukama mulungi sera kyonna
Mukama mulungi era zembeera ze
wa mukubire Katonda mu ngalo. Enguudo mu ggwanga lyonna kyekyobugagga ekisinga ekisobola okukuza ekonomi y'eggwanga. Ebizu bya Kampala ebisinga obukulu biri bibiri, nguudo na kasasiro. Wotereeza ebyo oba omaze. Ekyennaku nti enguudo zaffe zaali ziwangalako gye buvuddeko nga bannakigwanyizi tebannabagenda kwesenza kuzimba na kuziba kubo ly'amazzi. We twogerera enguudo zaffe zoonoonekera ku sipiidi y'amaanyi kubanga amazzi tegakyatambula genda mu bitundu mwe bagenda kugenda nga Lake Victoria olw'abagagga ng'omu gwesinga okutekeka essiira. Kubanga lipooti eya KCCA yino yamwogerako ye Mera Investments. Tulina Kinawataka swamp ng'amazzi gonna agava ebbanda agava ekyambogo agava entinda gayita mu Kinawataka swamp ebitundu 8 ku buli 100 Mera Investments yabiziika kati amazzi galina we gayita. Kyova olaba nti buli nkuba weetonya kubanga tegalina we gayita. Oluguudo lwa Jinja Road luba submerged mazzi. Obulabe bw'enguudo ge mazzi. Kyova olaba nti kyandibadde kirungi buli ekinnya we kijja kizibikirwe kubanga ekinnya kifuuka point of weakness amazzi we gayita okwonoona foundation y'oluguudo. Kati niwo tunawoggana tutya nga gavumenti abakungu baayo abagagga baayo bazimba mu ntobazi sudiiru bafunye ebyapa mu ntobazi naye bakkiriza okuzimba. Genda wano Dr. Ntaganda entobazi zonna eziri ku mbalamba zonna bazitutte bazikomye mu tayito. Kati niwo tunakola enguudo ne tuleeta obuwawaana bw'essente nga tetukoze ku mazzi we gagenda kuyita enguudo mye. World Bank report etulaga nti World Bank report ya 2008 nti mu Kampala yokka mu mwaka gwa 2008 tufiirwa million US dollars 10 buli nkuba bwetonya buli mwaka. Mwalabye ekyabaddewo erugogaawo aba banka ne banga tebatasobola kukola ba banka yajudde amazzi mu moyo. Mwalabye ekyabaddewo ku Entebbe Road obulamu bw'abantu bugenda. Mwalabye ekyabaddewo ebizimbe byagudde. Mwalabye ebyo byonna biva ku bagagga bano abeekobanyira makungu ba gavumenti okutwala entobazi. Ekyo okujjako nga tukikoze tetusobola kumalako. Tulina kilomita 2110 ez'enguudo, kilomita 654 zokka ziriko kolansi. Naye nezo ziriko kolansi kilomita ebitundu 7 zaggwa dda ku mpagala. We twogerera tulina square meters ez'ebinnya 785,000 ezo nga waliwo ze bayita section repairs ezetagisibwa okukola za 5,800. Section repair tuwano wona waafa tewetaaga kuzibikira kinnya ku kinnya. Section repair kitegeeza nti wonna wagenda kukolebwa ziri 5,800. Tulina ebinnya we twogerera mu koota eno yokka kubanga ate ekinnya wekivudde oluguudo luba lukadde leero ojja kukola wano enkya kijjo wali. Kati we twogerera tulina ebinnya 2,500. Kampala wano gyabadde ayogera mukama wange tulina 994 ebinnya mu CBD wano wokka. Enguudo zikaddiye zeetaaga okuba nti ziddibwamu zikolebwa bujja. Gavumenti etuwadde ssente. Tosobola kuba nti tolina maintenance plan ya kibuga, maintenance plan n'okwata biliyoni 10 ezitasobola na kukola kilomita 2 nti zogenda okuwa Kampala ekibuga ky'eggwanga ekivaamu ensimbi okukola ebinnya. Ekyo kikyamu era nkubiriza ababaka ba Parliament tugenda kutandika budgeting process balowooze nnyo ku kibuga nga bwe bafudde ku Hoima evaamu amafuta nekino ekibuga tekivaamu ebitundu 6 n'okusoba eziddukanya ekonomi. Hoima ogenda mu Hoima zonna enguudo nkole kubanga balina amafuta. Ogenda mu Gundu waliwo ne baanike muwanyi enguudo basaanikako muwogo. Ne wano ewatambulira traffic wano mu Kampala we wayita traffic emmotoka eziyita mu Kampala ebitundu 7 ku buli 10 ziri wano mu Kampala ne Wakiso. Ate ziri heavily loaded. Nti n'enguudo zaffe tuzidesigningira roads naye tusanso ziyitako awo nno twandisabye gavumenti eveeyo as a matter of urgency ekola ebintu bino wammanga. Number one, ewe KCC sente zimala okugula ebimotoka bya kasasiro. Kampala capital city kyekibuga kati kisinga obukyafu kubanga KCC efulumya egeneratinga kasasiro tani 25,000 naye esobola kujjawo kasasiro tani ebitundu 40 around that. Esigadde bayo kyanjo kye ne tufuna air quality esinga obubi. Endala basuula mu myala nezibikira emyala amatabane gatukuba wetwogerera njagala mugendeko kuleka Victoria ku Mbalama mulaba amazzi mulimu n'envunyu. Lwaki? Kubanga ennyanja yaffe na Lubaale kasasiro mwagwera okujjako nga tulwanyi abali mu ntobazi kubanga entobazi zino naddala abagagga abanaku tebalina nnyo kye batutte naye abagagga basudiiru baba basajja balaba kati wano Wumalu ali wali egundi ebusaabala ali mu kuyiwa ttaka mu mwala amini mugundu mutobazi bamutunulidde. Wumalu bamutunulidde. Tugenda kuvaayo tutandike okwogera amannya gano era mu wiiki 2 tugenda kujja n'amannya g'abagagga abatutte ettaka abatutte entobazi tubateeke mu lujjudde tubakimeko. Tetugenda kudda kutunula nga nsi yaffe bonaabona. We cannot. Sudiiru your wound. Nze nkuwaninga kubanga manyi mera investment yo. Ebintu abaana baffe ne bafa kubanga Sudiiru ayagala nnyo property. Abayindi eri nabaganda wansi gende bugolobyo labe lwali lutalo bataddeko abamundu SFC be bakuuma nga abantu baffe bafa kubanga mwagala bya bugagga. Ye muli kutaddi mmwe kasajja gwe muli kutaddi mmwe muli kutaddi muntu kabya amaziga mu nsi yaffe. Kampala yali Kampala eyagaza kati batongo. That's not going to happen. Nze mbabuulira. Ekyokubiri, president wafuddeyo mu nsi eno mutali mirimu. Mu nsi yaffe temuli mirimu tukimanyi nti abavuga bangi tebalina mirimu. KCC contracts ezigabira ba contractor newankubadde nti KCC ate kozesa form of contract eri very expensive. Framework contracts ziri very expensive zekozesa. Ba contractor ne bateeka omudidimbi gw'ensimbi nga mungi naye nga ba contractor abo singa mugeze mu competitive bidding bandikoze sente ntono. Awo no wetusabira nti muddeyo mutandika okukola emirimu ku sente zennyini. Njagala okwebaza ba engineer abamu abapya abakajja mu KCC ndi batandise okuteekawo reforms naye gye buvuddeko kibadde kibi nnyo. Ne mutabani wa Museveni n'atuuka okusaba taata we ajje mu kibuga akole ebinnya nga talina talina n'experience. Talina experience ze engineer. Ba engineer abasinga mbasomesezza mu university. Nasomesa emyaka 14. Talina experience, timu yo talina experience ya kukola nguudo. Ali mpozi mu kukola parking za State House. Ebinnya ebiziba bizibikidde. Lord yanjawulo. Kino ekinnya kiyitibwako gundi kikubwa amataba. Tewali mataba galika ku State House. Kati weetaga omuntu alina experience mu kuzibikira ebinnya eby'omu kibuga ekirina heavy traffic. Olese mutabani wo talina kyali agize oproposing okuba nti azibikira ebinnya naye tewali justification. Tamanyi na muwendo gwa binnya wabula agamba bugambi biliyoni 2.7 square meters nga bwe zogedde zino sente zisobola okumala. Tezisobola biliyoni 2 miliyoni 7 tezisobola kukola ku binnya square meter 7,800. That's out of order. N'olw'ensonga njagala okutegeeza nti ekyo kikyamu. Ekyokubiri ate ataddeyo abasajja ba SFC basasula omusaala. Tosobola bakompeyaringa ku kampani enoonya n'amagoba y'omusaala esasula abakozi baayo nti quotation erina kubeera y'emu. No, bali basasula omusaala gwe ne equipment okozesa ya gavumenti. Emisaala abakozi bali ku musaala naye bano contractor yeetaaga amagoba yeetaaga overhead yeetaaga gundi nti sente zo zirina okubeerako za wagguluko. Newankubadde nti era bakyali waggulu twandagadde bareducinge. Tusaba tuddemu tutunulire Kampala ng'ekibuga ekivaamu ensimbi. KCC tutuwe sente zisobola okugula ebimotoka ebyola kasasiro tukendeeze ku ndwadde eziva mu kasasiro kumansamansa tukendeeze kuzibikira kw'emyala kubanga tumanyi nti enguudo ze tukola ate amazzi webera submerged mazzi zonooneka mangu. N'ebigambo ebyo twetegese okugyayo amanya gaabo bonna ku lunaku olwo tugenda okwekalakaasa okugawanika mu lujjudde nti ayonoonye Uganda ye musajja yava ebuyindi n'ajja wano nga investor bw'ati.
Owa presidency ku ludda oluvuganya wamu ne security ng'ennaku z'omwezi 10 General Museveni we yali Kololo yavaayo n'akiteeka bwatu nga bw'abadde ebbanga lino lyonna Kampala agiresse okufaanana bweti ng'ayita mu kakodyo ak'okwagala okuwa ssente empitirivu eri SFC gye tumanyi obulungi erimu emikwano n'ab'eŋŋanda okulaba kati nga bayagala okuwa contract. General Museveni yavaayo n'aduulira abo bonna abadde bavaayo mu kiseera kino okwagala okulaba enguudo ennungi oba okugezaako okulaba nga ba-advocating oba abantu ba bulijjo nga ye bw'ali omulwanyi eyalwana. Era n'avaayo n'atuwa ekifaananyi nga bw'alagidde bw'ayagala SFC okutandika okukola ku nguudo oba ku binnya ebiri mu Kampala. Naye tujjukira bulungi KCC yaggulawo bidding era nga mu kampani ez'enjawulo ezaleeta nga mwotadde ne SFC embalirira eya ssente mmeka ze bayinza okukoleramu square kilometer. Tuyinamu kampani ezaali lower nga zaateekawo miliyoni 5 okukola omulimu guno. SFC we yali ebiddinga omulimu guno yagubiddingira ng'esobola gukolera biliyoni 2 n'okusoba. Kyatwewunyisiza nnyo General Museveni okuwa directive n'okutukaatikako nti kati agenda kuwa SFC biliyoni 12 nga 10 yavaayo n'ayogera nti agenda kuwa SFC biliyoni 12 okukola ku binnya byokka ebiri mu Kampala Central ng'ate tulina kampani ezaavaayo ne zibiddinga nga zibiddingirira miliyoni 5. Kampani ezitasukka wansi wa 10 zaavaayo nga ziri mu biliyoni 1 endala ziri mu miliyoni 5. Naye kya buswavu nnyo nti kati General Museveni engeri gye yawamba eggwanga emyaka 4 emabega asazeewo KCCA n'akatini kebadde ino okukolera abantu nakaakawambe akateeka eri wansi wa mutabani we okulaba nti kati be balina obuvunaanyizibwa obuddukanya okukola enguudo okulaba nti ekizibu kye tulina olunaku olwaleero ekyamataba kiggwawo. Naye ku ssente empitirivu ennyo ey'omuwi w'omusolo iffe kye tutagenda kukkiriza kwe kutuula ne tutunyula nga tulaba eggwanga balibba mu nkola eno. Ku birthday nnyini General Museveni nga bavaayo okwewaana nga bwe bakolesezza biliyoni 2 n'ekitundu okutegeka olunaku olumu wansi ku Jinja Road wosanga amakubo amabi gotasobola kuyitamu, wosanga emyala egitali mizimbe egyetaagisa essente entini nnyo okusinziira ku ssente ze baspendinga nga bali mu kukola emikolo egya birthday nga kwotadde n'egya mutabani we. Kye tutagenda kukkiriza ye SFC oba ye General Museveni okuyisa ssente mu ngeri y'ekikujjukujju okuwa mutabani we mu ngeri y'okwegaggawaza nga beefuula abatambulira mu kifaananyi eky'okukola amakubo. KCCA yateekayo okubiddinga era kampani ez'enjawulo ne zireeta fares ez'enjawulo ku ssente ki ze bayinza okukoleramu amakubo oba okuziba ebituli. Kyatwewunyisiza nga bwe mbagambye nti General Museveni takyaswala, yagambye agenda kuwa SFC biliyoni 12 okuziba just ebinnya mu kibuga. Omwana w'omunaku ono atasobola tambulira mu motoka ate nga nazo twazirabye nga embeera ey'ekibuga ey'ebinnya gye birimu nti enkuba weetonnya n'emmoloka tezireka, tajja kusobola kugenda ku ssomero ku makya olw'okubanga nti enkuba etonnye basuubira obulamu oba omwala gujja mutwala. Kye tutagenda kukkiriza iffe kwe kutuula eno ne tutematema ssente y'omusolo mu Parliament ne tugiweereza ate omuntu omu kubanga yeewaana nti ayina amaanyi, ayina ekiwago, yalwana olutalo, yeewaanisa emmundu nga bw'aziyina mu Afrika yonna, tewali ayinza mukuba, so bannayuganda tubabaggyeko ebbeetu okugoberera ssente zaabwe z'omusolo. Kye tutagenda kukkiriza kwe kubba ssente nga bayitiramu SFC nga bazigabana ab'eŋŋanda n'emikwano wamu ne mutabani we eyavaayo n'alambula enguudo z'e Kampala. Fenno tulowooza batunyuulire ba contractors bano bonna bawe omukisa okusingira ddala abo ababiidinga era abaleeta nti enguudo zino oba ebinnya bino basobola obikolera ku bbeeyi layisi. So twagala okwebaza General Museveni olw'amakubo amabi olwa floods ezigenda mu maaso olunaku olwaleero, kubanga emyaka 4 yeewaana kugenda mu nsiko ng'ate ffe twagala kwewaana makubo malungi g'okoze, masomero malungi g'ozimbye, infrastructure institution z'otaddewo, ebitongole okusobola okwemalirira okulaba nti bituusa services eri bannayuganda.
Ronald Nsubuga, the Shadow Minister for Lands, Housing and Urban Development, but also double as the chairperson of the City Roads Committee. And I'm a member of Parliament representing the Kawa East constituency in Parliament of Uganda. The most important public asset in any government is the road infrastructure. The most critical challenges that Kampala capital city has are not many, but one of them is the road infrastructure, the poor road infrastructure. The second one is garbage management, and one affects the other. But the way government is handling this, handling the face of Uganda, you really wonder. For instance, Kampala capital city has 2,110 kilometers of road network. Only, and I mean only, 654 are paved. But 70% of the paved roads, 70% have outlived the design life, which means they need to be revamped. They need to be maintained. Our maintenance culture is the poorest in East Africa. You cannot say you are going to get 10 billion and give it for the city road maintenance under Uganda Road Fund. We are only going to receive 10 billion. And ever since the financial year began, no single penny has been sent to KCCA for road maintenance. And the other great problem is that most of the waterways in Kampala have been encroached on by investors. And that's the reason that we have floods. The greatest enemy of a road is water. In the World Bank report of 2008, we lose over $100 million every year because of floods. The greatest problem we have are the floods. We lose property, we lose lives, and we lose the ecosystem. Therefore, it's upon us now, as a matter of urgency, to make sure that we open all the waterways. One of the destroyers, the greatest destroyer, I have it on record, is Mera Investments, a company owned by Sudiru, who has backfilled 70% of Chinawataka swamp. It's on record. 75% of Chinawataka swamp has been backfilled by Sudiru, and there is no way for the water. That's the reason that we are flooding along Jinja Road. Unless we wake up and open waterways, we shall do roads, and they will deteriorate at a very fast rate, because the greatest enemy of roads is water. I speak as an engineer. We are going to work on potholes, but if we have floods, believe me, they will not work. And therefore, the first thing we must do is to make sure that we open waterways to Lake Victoria. Government has given out titles in swamps. Almost 90% of the swamps in Kampala are titled. And we have the Minister of Minister of Lands. I recently called the minister. I've written to the minister so that we can have an harmonization meeting to that effect. Yes, we have also seen that in Kampala we generate 2,500 tons of garbage, but only KCC can only collect 40%. The rest is thrown, and this blocks the the waterways, and we have floods. So unless we address the issue of garbage management, we are still going to have floods in the city. And the city will be filthy, will be dirty, because as we speak now, it's one of the dirtiest cities in the world. So we must wake up. The other issue is to speak about the way members of parliament are treated. We are treated as if we are not key stakeholders. Right now, as I speak, there is a key stakeholders meeting going on the Kampala City Roads Rehabilitation Project. It's going on in Africana. But members of parliament were not invited. We are not invited. After allocating resources to them, we are not key stakeholders to this. So why are we treated as such? And yet, at moments of allocating money, we are called upon. We have a mandate of overseeing taxpayers' money. How are we going to do that when we're not invited for meetings? So I caution KCCA to take us as serious key stakeholders and invite us for such meetings. Look at the proposal recently on the 10th day of September 2023. The president made a statement that his son, General Muhoozi, had requested that we give SFC a mandate to backfill and repair potholes in the city. And now they will be taking over works of the private sector. We have engineers that have no jobs, SFC have jobs, and again they want to take on jobs of the private sector, because KCC literally must subcontract or contract out these jobs, these contracts. So by us allowing SFC that are already employed, we are going to take the jobs and give them to SFC. That does not work. So I call upon the president to give KCCA money, enough money, and KCCA, I call upon them to make sure that they expend this money in a relevant way. They have this business of, I'm concluding, they have this business of framework contracts. They spend quite a lot of money on framework contracts. That must stop, so that we utilize the little resources that we have for our roads. SFC are paid a salary, they have equipment, yes, we are aware, but again, you cannot compare their cost to a cost of a contractor who pays a salary, who employs people, who has an interest, a profit, an interest to pay. So you cannot compare the cost of the amount SFC can expend on potholes. You compare them with contractors who are basically profit makers. So I call upon the president to rethink about that and be able to give KCC enough money so that we can have better road infrastructure in the city and improve our economy. I end there.
Colleague, of course, the issue concerning the roads in Kampala and the drainage channels in Kampala is a very serious issue, which of course the government has failed to put emphasis on. Because Kampala, being the capital city of this country, automatically it has the largest tax base of this country. So the people of Kampala are paying too much in taxes. In such, they expect at least some outcome or a reward, like the roads in their city, the way of life changing in their homesteads, and the city at large to have at least a very good face. But of course, if you don't pay them in such a way, other issues will crop in. As leaders, we shall not sit back to see Kampala go down, especially in the issues concerning the drainages and the roads. We have roads which are not roads. If you look at the potholes in Kampala, they are clocking to more than 9,440 square kilometers in the city, which means almost 90% of the roads in Kampala have potholes. So it is being named a pothole city. We all watched and read on the social media where each and every person was concerned by the potholes in the city, which was a very bad image in terms of, it was giving a very bad image to the whole country, especially outside the country. It could not interest the investors to come in Uganda because of those bad roads and potholes. People spend too much in improving their cars because of the affection by the potholes and bad roads, their motorcycles, and even their feet are being affected by these potholes and bad roads. So why are we here? Why are we here as leaders? So we must put emphasis and put pressure on government so as to give what is best to the people of Kampala. Kampala is the capital city of this country. The government should know. Instead of spending too much on luxuries like travels abroad, luxuries like throwing parties everywhere, they should construct roads. They should construct roads. We are seeing meetings, KCCA, meeting stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? They are the people of Kampala, but when you say stakeholders and then you meet people in hotels, very big expenses on hotels, but the roads are not being catered for. So what we want to see as leaders of Kampala are the actions being made. We were promised that this year the roads will be constructed, the drainages will be safer, but now what we have seen are people drowning. Each and every time when rains come, people suffer, people start crying. So we are not going to allow this as leaders of Kampala. That's why we are putting an ultimatum. 2 weeks, 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, we want some action to be done. How on earth do you give 10 billion for road improvement in the city? 10 billion, just 10 billion. When just one building is constructed by 10 billion, then roads in Kampala, more than 9,440 kilometer squares of potholes. You give 10 billion? No, please. Let us be serious. So as leaders, we are not going to allow that. Recently, I got a report from my people on Salama Road and the Luafu Road. Just to give you an example and to be very serious on this issue, the people of Makindye West now are sending councillors to Parliament to inform us to put more pressure because they have pressure. So when they bring their issues to me, I have to push them to Parliament. And when Parliament gives money to KCCA, we have to see actions being made, roads being constructed. To you journalists, today, these are the councillors I'm talking about from Rukuri and Ruafu. So they are on the same issue. So why should the whole country be shouting over the same issue? Salama Road, Salama Road, Salama Road. So we have to be serious. Ladies and gentlemen, help us in this struggle to see Kampala shine like any other city. Because we know that as leaders we are able and we can fix this mess. The overbuilding of the roads. How can you say, the other time I saw Madam Chitaka, the executive director, saying that Chisaka, that Rubiji Road per kilometer, they are going to put more than 9 billion per kilometer, more than 9 billion. But do you know 9 billion just for per kilometer? It is too much. Even then, when they overbuild, they don't construct. So now what are they doing? We are now seeing a coup. They are saying SFC is going to come and work on the roads in Kampala. Yet we have an engineering department. So what we are suggesting is that if you are bringing SFC to construct roads, then put away the engineering department, which has more than 300 engineers in Kampala, so that we can see that now you have taken over everything. Even the engineers do not take our money, we spend on the roads, and we see what will happen. So ladies and gentlemen, we want you to help us in this endeavor. As members of the public, when we announce that in 2 weeks we are going for the roads of Kampala and the drainages, so be sure to be behind us in this struggle for a better Kampala and a better city. Thank you so much.
No, it's okay. Can we all... okay.
Yes. Good morning, our dear brothers and sisters from the media fraternity. We are here as the caucus of MPs that represent Kampala as the capital of the country. We've decided to have a presser today on the issues that are affecting the city, as we are all aware that in this rainy season, Kampala is experiencing the problem of floods that have led to loss of lives and properties. Most of the residents of Kampala, most especially those ones who reside in the lowlands within the city. There are certain blames that have been put to members of parliament, but who would want to clear this, that the duty of the MPs is to make budget appropriations such that local governments can implement the programs that are being passed by parliament. Recently, 2 days ago, Kampala experienced heavy rains, and we saw most of people being affected. For example, border borders, cyclists. We saw the guy who was driving along Entebbe Road drowning. And we have a lot of cases in other suburb areas, in areas of Luzira, Salama Road, even in Ruaga areas where an Indian constructed a property on the channel. We want to put a blame all these challenges to this government through its entities like KCCA, because we are all aware that there is a physical development plan that has not been implemented by KCCA. KCCA does the role of approving building plans. Sometimes we wonder, when we moved most of the wetlands, we have seen foreigners, most especially Chinese and Indians, who have acquired development applications from KCCA. The case in point, the Indian who constructed apartments in areas of Lusaze has a plan from KCCA. And indeed, he constructed on top of the channel. And this affects the flow of water, most especially when it rains. Secondly, Parliament passes money for desilting. Parliament passes money for construction of wider drainage channels, and Parliament passes money for construction of city roads. But as we are talking right now, in the current budget, Parliament approved lots of money. When we talk about the road fund, Parliament had passed 60 billion. But our notice, when it came to allocation, instead of 60 billion, Kampala was allocated only 10 billion. To the government of Uganda, as Parliament, most especially the Office of the Leader of Opposition, we passed an alternative budget requesting for a minimum of 2 trillion as a budget of Kampala. But our dissatisfaction, it is only 33 billion that was allocated, and on these 33, as we are speaking right now, we are closing the first quarter of the current financial year, but Kampala has not received anything as far as construction of roads and drainages is concerned. So we call upon this government to wake up. Let us do our work. Let the executive put the Minister of Finance to task that Kampala is the capital of this country. Indeed, the people of Kampala need to be served better because they are the highest payers of tax. So, as members who represent the people of Kampala, we shall not sit back and see all these challenges. We are giving them an ultimatum of a maximum of 2 weeks to work on most of the challenges that have affected our people, most especially when it comes to flooding. We all know what causes flooding. The status, the quality of the drainage channels that we have is in bad state. When you look at the road network that we have in the city, we have been promised lots and lots. Recently, we had even the so-called Mohoz, when he was touring Kampala, we had him promising that on how they are going to bring SFC to work on the problems of roads in Kampala. We are wondering, as Kampala, as leaders who come from Kampala, the main challenge of the road network is not human capital. We have engineers that are well paid in the KCCA. Contractors are there who are ready to perform their duties just in case if resources are being provided. But our concern is, why has government failed to provide funds when it comes to construction of roads and drainages in the city? So we have decided to come out clearly with my colleagues, Honorable Alan Sewanyana, Honorable Balimwezo from Nakawa, and Honorable Nyeko Derrick, and others who have not managed to be here. We are giving government an ultimatum, and this time round, we shall not have any excuse because we have had a lot of reports being tabled on the floor of Parliament, and we have been getting reports on how funds are going to be provided when it comes to sorting out the challenges that we have that have led to the loss of lives of the people of Kampala and their properties. Tweyanziza nnyo baganda baffe bannamawulire. After 2 weeks, as members of Parliament from Kampala, we are ready to organize the masses, the biggest taxpayers in this country, the people who reside in Kampala, the people who work from Kampala. We are ready to organize them, and indeed, we shall show our dissatisfaction on the state of affairs when it comes to the infrastructure network, most especially to our roads network in the city and the drainage systems. Because as we have already notified you that we can't sit back and see our people dying when well aware that Kampala is the capital that contributes over 60% of the GDP of this country.
Well, we have statistics that indicate that Kampala has been left in such a position deliberately, with the intention of General Museveni to allocate resources for his son through infrastructure and allocation of monies to roads in Kampala. On the 10th, General Museveni at Kololo came out clearly and addressed the nation on how he thinks he's going to manage this infrastructure, the roads and the floods that we are experiencing today by allocating funds to his son. General Museveni was clear and he said the SFC, which is under him, that is made to protect him, is giving a directive to KCCA so that they can be allocated finances and contracts to be in charge of backfilling potholes, and it is a shame. It is a shame that this is a deliberate move, first of all, to make sure that the companies that have been contracted do not stand. It is a shame that General Museveni has reached this extent of emptying Kampala City Council Authority with the directors as nothing doers. So since General Museveni has decided to have a coup on Kampala as well, and a structure that is running Kampala that would be in position to be empowered to address these issues, he has been denying Kampala as an authority finances to address the infrastructure issues. But as well, we saw him on that day bragging how he's a general who went to the bush and fought, and no one will be in position to shake him because they are addressing issues. The public has become so much aware of what is going on. We want General Museveni to brag on infrastructure. We want General Museveni to brag on the roads. We want General Museveni to brag on the issues of Kampala, not to address us lamenting of how they overcame the war 40 years back. We have challenges we are facing as a nation. As Parliament, we are allocating funds, and it is deliberately being misallocated, and now they are coming up with new tricks of how to finance their family members and friends. We all know that SFC has family members and friends, and today you want to get the infrastructure of the city instead of giving it to the technocrats in Kampala, denying them money. Several companies were given an opportunity to bid on how much they can afford to repair the roads of Kampala. It is surprising that General Museveni, you have the guts, even after KCC, examining and finding out which one has low costs. You are bragging on how you want to give taxpayers' money to your son, to your SFC brothers and sisters and family members to run the Kampala affairs deliberately. We have no kind words for you, General Museveni, since you have decided to come out and give directives. We just want to remind you it is 40 years down the road. All you can tell us is you fought. All you can tell us, you can handle us because we are requesting for better infrastructure. We are requesting for an economy that can compete. We are requesting to see that Kampala and the poor people that cannot afford cars, their children can travel to schools when it rains. All we want is a government that is responsible for its people, that can empower institutions like KCC to perform their role. All we want is an accountability. But what we are not going to accept as members of Parliament from Kampala is to see SFC, now that it has been a deliberate move, to make sure that you frustrate KCCA by denying them funds, that SFC enjoys, General Muhoozi, the first son, enjoys the privilege of throwing parties at the expense of taxpayers. This money should be allocated to roads so that we can address the issue and see that those that are occupying land in the swampy areas, for example, in my constituency, just as you're heading to Soya, you will find out that they have constructed a huge building, supermarket, at the expense of the poor people who are living on the other side. Now they are suffering of floods because KCCA and probably somebody who is closer to the first family wants the land and wants to construct. So it is a deliberate move for the state of Kampala to look like this. When you go up country, you will find out that some of the roads have been constructed. And you find out here in Kampala, with a huge taxpayers base, our roads have failed to be constructed. There is a question, and it could be deliberately, according to our statistics. Thank you.